Anxious for Nothing, Chapter 2. Rejoice in the Lord's sovereignty. You can't run the world, but you can entrust it to God. I grew up in a camping family. My dad's idea of great vacation included mountains, creeks, tents, and sleeping bags. Let others tour the big cities and enjoy the theme parks. This family passed on Mickey and headed for the Rockies. I attempt to continue this tradition with my own family. No luck. Our ideas of roughing it is staying out of the in-laws. We like campfires as long as someone else builds them, and room service is available. I'm not as hardy as my dad. He loved camping gear as much as he loved camping trips. One day when I was about 9 years old, he returned from a trip to an army surplus store with a tent that has become part of the family lore. It was huge. It holds a dozen cots. They could erect the tent around a picnic table and still have room for sleeping bags. This one came with two. Don't confuse those poles with the slender, retractable aluminum version that comes with the average sized camping tent. No, sir. These tents were made of cast iron and were as thick as an armful. The shelter wasn't fancy. No zipper doors, no mosquito netting, no camouflage design, but it was sturdy. Let the wind howl, let the summer rain fall, let the hail pound, let the rain change, let the weather change. We weren't going anywheres. On one occasion, we were camped at a park, Colorado, along with Dad's 8 siblings. The sky suddenly grew dark and stormy. Rain pounded at the ground and wind bent the pine trees. Everyone made a dash for the tents. Within minutes, everyone left their tents and scrambled to ours. It was, after all, the one with the two cast iron poles. I'm thinking you and I would use the set of poles. The world has a way of brewing some fierce winds. Who among us hasn't sought protection from the elements of life? If only our storms were limited to winds and rains. Our temps consist of life's deeds of life, difficulties, divorce, disease, and death. Does anyone know where to find a shelter that is suitable for these gales? The Apostle Paul did. If anyone had a reason to be anxious, it was him. Let your imagination travel you 2,000 years back in time. Envision an old man as he gazes out the window of a Roman prison. Paul is about 60 years old, 30 years a Christian, and there is scarcely a seaport on the Mediterranean he doesn't know. See how stooped he is, all angles and curves, bent back on the miles traveled, and the beatings endured. He received 39 lashes on 5 different occasions. He was beaten with rods on 3 times. Scars, spider webs across his face like he was once left for dead. He had been imprisoned, deserted by friends and co-workers, and endured shipwrecks, storms, and starvation. He probably is half blind, squinting just to read. Galatians 4:15. What's more, he is awaiting trial before the Roman Empire. Nero has to learn to curry the favor of Roman citizens by killing believers, of which Paul is the best known. As if the opposition from the empire wasn't enough, Paul also bears the weight of newborn churches. The members are bickering. False preachers are preaching out of pride and envy. Philippians 1:15-17. So much for the early life of the apostles. His future is as gloomy as his jail cell. Yet to read his words, you think he just arrived at a fancy hotel. His letters to the Philippians bear not one word of fear and complaint, not one. He never shakes a fist at God. Instead, he lifts his thanks to God and calls on his readers to do the same. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again I say rejoice. Philippians 4:4. Paul's prescription for anxiety begins with a call to rejoice. Paul uses every tool in the box on the verse, hoping to get their attention. First, he employs a present imperative tense so that readers would hear him say continuously, habitually, rejoice. And if the verb tense wasn't enough, he removed the expiration date. Rejoice in the Lord always. And if the verb tense and always were inadequate, he repeated the command. Again I say, rejoice. But how about a person obeying this command? Rejoice always? Is it possible for any person to maintain an uninterrupted spirit of gladness? No, this is not Paul's challenge. We are urged to rejoice in the Lord. This verse is a calling, not a feeling, but to a decision and deeply rooted confidence that God exists and He is in control and that He is good. The apostle felt firm to the belief. He had erected cast iron stabilities in the center of his soul. Let Nero rage, let preachers self-promote. Paul's tent of faith would never collapse. He would stable it, and with a steady belief system. How stable is yours? How steady is yours? Flip back the flaps of your souls, and you'll see a series of beliefs that you serve like poles to stable your life. Your belief system is answers to fundamental questions about life. Is anyone in control of the universe? Does life has a purpose? Do I have value? Is this life all there is? Your belief system has nothing to do with your skin color, appearance, talent, or age. Your belief system is not concerned with the exterior, the tent, but the interior. It is a set of convictions, poles, all of them, unseen upon which your faith depends. If your belief system is strong, you will stand. If it's weak, storm will prevail. Belief always precedes behavior. For this reason, the Apostle Paul in each of his epistles addressed convictions before he addresses action. To change the way a person responds to life changes what a person's believe about life. The most important thing about you is your belief system. Take a closer look at the poles in the tent of the apostles. You'll see one with the inscription, the sovereignty of God. Sovereignty is a term the Bible uses describes God's perfect control and management of the universe. He preserves the governs and every element. He is continuously involved with all created things, directing them to act in a way that fulfills his divine purpose. In the treatments of anxiety, a proper understanding of sovereignty is huge. Anxiety is often the consequence of preserved chaos. If we sense we are victims of unseen, turbulent, random forces, we are troubled. Psychologists verified this fact when they studied the impact of combat on soldiers. In World War II, they determined that after 60 days of continuous combat, the ground troop became emotionally dead. This reaction is understandable. Soldiers endure a constant threat of bombs, machine guns, and enemy snipers. The anxiety of ground troops was no surprise. The calm of fighter pilots, however, was. Their mortality rate was among the highest in combat. 50% of them were killed in action, yet dogfighters loved their work. An astounding 93% of them claimed to be happy in their assignments, even though the odds of survival were the same as the tossing of a coin. What made a difference? Those pilots had their hands on the rudder. They sat in the cockpit. They felt that their fate was theirs to determine. Men, by contrast, could have just easily be killed standing still or running away. They felt forlorn and helpless. The formula is simple. Preserve control creates calm. Lacking control gives birth to fear. You don't need a word to prove this formula. Road congregations will do just fine. A team of German researchers found that a traffic jam increased your chances of a heart attack threefold. Makes sense. Gridlock is the ultimate loss of control. We may know how to drive, but that fellow in the next lane doesn't. We can be the best drivers in history, but the texting teenager might be the end of us. There's no predictability, just stress. Anxiety increases as preserved control diminishes. So what do we do? Control everything? Never board a plane without a parachute? Never enter a restaurant without bringing your own clean silverware? Never leave your house without a gas mask? Never give your heart for fear or for a broken one? Never step on cracks lest you break your mother's back? Face anxiety by taking control. If only we could. Yet certainty is a cruel impostor. A person can accumulate millions of dollars and still lose it in a recession. A health fanatic can eat only nuts and veggies and can still battle cancer. A hermit can avoid all human contact and still suffer with insomnia. We want certainty, but the only certainty is the lack thereof. And that's why the most stressed out people are control freaks. They fail at the quest they most pursue. The more they try to control the world, the more they realize they cannot. Life becomes a cycle, anxiety, failure, anxiety, failure, anxiety, failure. We can't take control because control is not ours to take. The Bible has a better idea. Rather than seeking total control, relinquish it. You cannot run the world, but you can entrust it to God. This is the message behind Paul's administration to rejoice in the Lord. Peace is within reach, not for a lack of problems, but because of the presence of the sovereign Lord. Rather than rephrase the chaos of the world, rejoice in the Lord's sovereignty as Paul did. The things which happened to me have already turned out for the furtherance of the gospel, so that it had become evident to the whole place card, and to the rest that my chains are in Christ. Philippians 1:12-13. And those troublemakers in the church, those who preach out envy and strife, Philippians 1:15, their selfish motives were no match for the sovereignty of God. Whatever their motives are fake or genuine, the message about Christ is being preached either way. So I rejoice, and I will continue to be rejoiced. Philippians 1:18, NLT. Paul believed that God highly exalted Jesus and gave him the name that is above every name. Philippians 2:9. Conditions might have been miserable in prison, but high above it was all a God who worked in you both to will and to do his good pleasure. Philippians 2:13. To read Paul is to read the words of a man who, in the inmost part of his being, believed in the steadfast of a good God. He was protected by God's strength, preserved by God's love. He lived beneath the shadow of God's wings. Do you? Stabilize your soul with the sovereignty of God. He reigns superior over every detail of the universe. There is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that is successful against the Lord. Proverbs 21:30. God has as he pleased with the power of heaven and the people of the earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, "What have you done?" Daniel 4:37 NIV. He who sustains all things. Hebrews 1:3. He can whistle for the fly that is in the furthest part of the river of Egypt. Isaiah 7:18. He names the stars and knows the sparrows, gray and small. From the people in China to the army ants in your backyard, everything is under his control. Who can act against you without the Lord's permission? Is it the Lord who helps one and harms another? Lamentations 3:37-38. God's answer for a troubled time has always been the same. Heaven has a occupied throne. This was certainly the message God gave to the prophet Isaiah during the 8th century BC. Ancient Judah enjoyed a time of peace, thanks to the stability of Uzziah, the king. Uzziah was far from perfect, yet he kept the armies at bay. Though its antagonists threatened from all sides, the President Uzziah kept the fragile society safe from attack for 52 years. Then Uzziah died. Isaiah, who lived during the reign of the king, was left with the immense reason for fear. What would happen to the people of Judah now that he was gone? Or in your case, what will happen now that your job's gone, or that your health has diminished, or that the economy has taken a nosedive? Does God have a message for his people when calamity strikes? He certainly had a word for Isaiah, prophet word. In the year of that King Uzziah died, he saw the Lord sitting on the throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above it stood seraphim. Each one had 6 wings, and with 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one cried to another and said, "Holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory." Isaiah 6:1-3. Uzziah's throne was empty, but God's was occupied. Uzziah's reign had ended, but God had not. Uzziah's voice was silenced, but God's was strong. Isaiah 6:8-10. He was and is alive on the throne and worthy of endless worship. God calms the fear of Isaiah, not by removing the problem, but by revealing his divine power and presence. Think about it this way. Suppose your dad is the world's foremost orthoponic surgery. People travel from different countries for him to treat them. Regularly, he examines diminished joints for healthy ones. With the same confidence that a mechanic changes sparks plugs, your dad removes and replaces hips, knees, and shoulders. At 10 years of age, you are a bit young to comprehend the accomplishment of this renowned surgeon, but you're not too young to stumble down the stairs and twist your ankle. You roll on the floor and yell for help. You're weeks away from your first dance class. There's no time for crutches, no time for limbs. You need a healthy ankle. Yours is already but. Into the room walks your dad, still wearing his surgical scrubs. He removes your shoe, peels back your sock, and examines the injuries. You groan at the sight of a tennis ball-sized bump. The anxiety kicks in. "Dad, I'll never walk again." "Yes, you will." "No one can help me." "I can." "No one knows what to do." "I do." "No, you don't." Your dad lifts his head and asks you a question. "Do you know what I do for a living?" Actually, you don't. You know he goes to the hospital every day. You know what people call him, doctor. Your mom thinks he is smart, but you don't really know what your father is. "So," he says as he places a bag of ice on his ankle, "it's time for you to learn." The next day he is waiting for you in the school parking lot after class. "Hop in, I want to show you what I do." He drives you to the hospital and shows you the different diplomas on his wall. Adjacent to them is the collection of words that includes things like distinguished and honorable. He hands you a manual of his surgery that bears his name. "You wrote this?" "I did." His phone rings. After the call, he announces, "We're off to surgery." You scrub up and follow him into operating rooms on your crutches. During the next few minutes, you ringside seats for a procedure in which he constructs the ankle. He is the commandant of the operating room. He never hesitates to seize the device. He just do it. One of the nurses whispers, "Your dad is the best." As two of you ride home that evening, you look at your father. You see him in a different light. If he had conducted orthopedic surgery, he would likely treat a swollen ankle. So he asks, "You think I'll be okay for the dance?" "Yes, you'll be fine." This time you believe him. Your anxiety decreases as your understanding of your father increases. This is what I think our biggest fear are sprained ankles to God. Here's what else I think. A lot of people live with unnecessary anxiety over temporarily limps. The next time you fear the future, rejoice in the Lord's sovereignty. Rejoice in what he has accomplished. Rejoice that he is able to do what you can't do. Fill your mind with thoughts of God. He is the creator who is blessed forever. Romans 1:25. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. His years will never end. Psalms 102:27 NIV. He is the king, superior ruler, absolute monarch, and overlord of all history. An arch of his eyebrow and a million angels will every throne is a footstool to him. Every crown is paper mache next to his. He counsels no adviser, he needs no congress, he reports to no one, he is in charge. Sovereignty gives the saints the inside tracks to peace. Others sees the problem of the world and wrings their hands. We see the problems in the world and bend our knees. Jeremiah did. My soul hath rejected from peace. I have forgotten happiness, so I say, my strength has perished, and so has my hope from the Lord. Remember my afflictions and my wandering, the wormwood and the bitterness. Surely my soul remembers, and is bowed down within me. Lamentations 3:17-20. Jeremiah was a prophet to Judah during one of the darkest periods of rebellion. They called him the weeping prophet because he was. He wept at the condition of the people and their damaged faith. He was anxious enough to write a book called Lamentation. But then he considered the work of God, and he purposely lifted his mind to thoughts about his king. Know how he intentionally used his words. This I recall to my mind. Therefore I have hope. The Lord's loving kindness and deeds never cease, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I have hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait on him. To the people who seek him, it is good that he waits silently. Lamentations 3:21-26. Lift up your eyes. Don't get lost in the trouble. Dare to believe that good things will happen. Dare to believe that God will speak to you when he said, "And everything God works for the good to those who love him." Romans 8:28. The mind cannot at the same time be full of God and full of fear. He will keep in perfect peace all those who turn in him, whose thoughts turn often to the Lord. Are you troubled, restless, sleepless? Then rejoice in the Lord's sovereignty. I dare you to expose your worries to an hour of rejoicing and worship. Your concerns will melt like ice on a July sidewalk. Anxiety passes as trust increases. Jeremiah draws a direct connection between faith and peace. Blessed is a man who trusts in the Lord and whose hope is in the Lord, for he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spread out its roots by the river, and will not fear when heat comes, but its leaf will be green, and will not be anxious in the year of drought. Jeremiah 17:7-8. Many years ago, I visited a week visiting Brazil. The longtime missionary pilot. He flew a circus of remote towns in a four-seat plane that is threatened to undone at the gust of wind. I could not get comfortable. I kept thinking the plane was going to crash in some Brazilian jungle, and I would be gobbled up by piranhas or swallowed by something else. I kept shifting around, looking down, gripping my seat, as if that would help. Finally, the pilot had enough of my squirming. He looked over and shouted over the plane noise, "We won't face anything that I can't handle. You might as well trust me to fly the plane." Is God saying the same to you? Examine the poles that sustain your belief. Make sure one of them is etched with the words, "My God is sovereign."